Welcome to Discover the Difference, a podcast brought to you by C3. I'm your host, Jamie Reed, alongside mi amigo, Gabriel Earl, and today we have a guest co-host, Van Lai Dumont, as we have legendary UFC fighter Frank Shamrock join the show. You know Frank as a UFC champion, as a Strikeforce founder, face of MMA. And you may also know that Frank was one of the first guys to pull together multiple types of martial arts and uniquely blend them together. But what you probably don't know about Frank is that he comes from the most crazy story of overcoming adversity and childhood setbacks, 23 felonies, before having a life-changing moment where he decided he was just gonna change everything and head to the other side. And he did it in the most unique way. His story is so special, inspiring, and unique, and I know you're going to love this podcast with Frank Shamrock. I'll just kind of kick off here.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, you have an amazing story. We got to spend a little bit of time with you guys recently to learn about it, but will you kind of just take us back to the beginning, because how you found MMA is a little bit of a unique path that I'm not sure that story's out there for everybody to consume. So could you kind of give us that background?
Sure. It is definitely an unusual path to get into sports and also martial arts. So, I started training in martial arts when I was 22 years old. And so I had just gotten out of prison. And so I did 3.5 years in prison. And then during my prison time, I really built myself up because I had a mentor who eventually adopted me, Bob Shamrock. And he told me to lift weights and build my body and build myself up. So unbeknownst to me, this new sport had started. And I just happened to come out and meet the sport at the right time. But yeah, obviously I went to prison. And that's a whole other section to it. But I left home when I was 11 years old. Like I was just talking to someone yesterday about it who was very young. And I was like, I left home. Like I didn't have family. So I grew up on the streets and I learned how to be a criminal. That was my business before this other business was being a criminal. And it got me out of my home. I lived in an abusive, unpleasant home, which caused for me all kinds of emotional issues and instability. And I just had so many social problems connecting with people because of what was happening at my home, unbeknownst to me. But once we figured all that out, and I figured out that I could get out of my home using crime, I just leaned into crime.
Will you go deeper there?
No, I wanted to
get the crime.
Unbeknownst.
Well, I didn't. Yeah. Well, I thought
does that mean?
I thought it was a game. I thought it was a game because it served a valuable tool. I was in a terrible abusive environment. I committed a crime. All of a sudden, I was taken away, and so it gave me this. It was like I was 11 years old. I thought I found the thing that was going to protect me and save me. It turned out to be martial arts, but I thought at that time it was crime. Honestly, if you just sat me down, I'm like, you don't understand. Here's where it saved me. Here's where it saved me, and this is how I live my life. So it wasn't weird for me. It was a great tool until it wasn't, and then I ended up in prison.
Yeah.
And what I remember you telling me was that when you're in juvenile hall or juvenile detention, you telling a story about what was happening in your home.
Yeah.
Thinking it was normal.
Yeah,
Like
I
that,
thought it was normal.
everyone grew up like
Perfectly
that
normal.
in an abusive household.
The other kids are like, that's not normal.
and these
bro."
are,
Well, I was just looking for data to deal with it because I was starting to realize like it was what was affecting me. Like I was living in the backyard. I was doing weird things that I could tell was like, man, this is really hard. People don't seem to be struggling like I'm struggling. And I was smart. Like I was crazy smart. And I think that was part of the problem is I wasn't socialized enough, but I had enough knowledge to be like, dude, like this isn't normal. I read the books. This isn't normal. Is that what's going on in people's books?
Yeah.
So yeah, talking to those kids, it gave me an insight that I didn't know. That we were all doing this thing.
And what's interesting, like the idea that this
We're
is
all
like
struggling.
Yeah, like this is discover the difference. Like you
Yeah.
usually hear kids getting into a life of crime because their friends are doing is peer pressure. But because you're so smart, you saw it as a tool to get out.
Tool,
And you
great
used it.
tool, and it worked great. I mean, I traveled the state. I got to visit all these different places. I had all these different families. I learned all these different religions, all these different social structures. Like it really helped me. I was messed up, but it helped me understand like what was going on in our community, our society, at least in a certain way, as it affected me. And before that, I had no knowledge. I had books, and I was locked in closets and doing all this other stuff that was, making me feel crazy.
But you had like an entrepreneurial type moment at 11, right? Where wasn't the story that you're speaking to a counselor and they say, hey,
Yeah.
Frank, one more
One
time,
more, we
and
will.
the light switch goes
Yeah,
on for you,
we'll
right?
take you
Like,
from your home. And so that was, I thought she was delivering me a message like, hey, this data equals this action. So I went, oh, okay.
doing
Because
it.
I'd already told her all the other stuff. Like, hey, I'm getting, this is what's happening. And I don't think they believe me. Because what bad kid is not telling weird stories, and what bad kid is not spinning the truth. And I didn't know it was abnormal. I was just, I get locked in the closet. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I get really angry. Live in the backyard, and it makes me. And she's like, "Yo," but the thing I remember was exactly that statement. You keep doing this, they will take you from your home. And I went back, sat down in my cell, and I went, "All right, well, let's get
That's
down
an
to this.
opportunity.
Let's get serious." And I got very serious.
So there was almost like this, desire to get out, to go to juvenile hall, or was it just to get out, just to
It was
escape?
just to get out. But then when I went there, I actually enjoyed it. It was better than my home. It was better than my community. I was a brown kid in a rural, all-white community.
Yeah.
I lived with an all-white family. I didn't even know people didn't look at me the same. I knew it was different. And then when I acted weird, it got even weirder. And so, yeah, I loved it. I honestly loved it until I got, about 15, 16. And I was like, well, it's getting really complicated. Like, I had a baby. I was in high school. Like, everything just got really, really messed up.
So how did then from that moment at 15 do you end up connecting with your adopted father who introduced you to the martial arts?
Yeah, well, I met Bob Shamrock when I was 13. And so I'd gone through maybe 5 or 6 group homes. I had the card. I don't like this. This is weird. You guys are odd. Your religion's funny. I don't like these chores. And I'd break the law and they'd send me back to juvenile hall. All my friends and all the people I liked. And the cook was a great dude. Dave was his name. Wonderful guy. We'd all hang out. And then I'd go through the courts. I'd get placed in a new place. And they'd send me to a new family. We'd all hang out. I'd learn their things. And then, but the problem is you do it too many times and your security keeps going up. So Bob Shamrock was like, down the last
stop.
Yeah, he was the last stop. The Boys Ranch was known, it was legendary. It's a place where tough kids went, and one of the last stops on the chain. And so I got to that point, and he showed up just like this at a table, sat me down, and said, "Hey, I got a ranch, and I do this, and what are you about?" And I went to tell him my, my street story. And he just cut me off, and he's like, "No, we don't. Nope." He goes, "Straight, real. I mean, I'll guide you, and I'll be a father figure." And he laid it out like a dad. And I was just blown away. I never
He's
had
selling you almost?
not even selling me. He wouldn't let me bullshit him. And then he had his way. He goes, "Yeah, this is the way." And he goes, "If you come with me, you'll do this, and you'll be okay." And I was like, shit, no one had ever showed me a way, or no one had ever been truthful with me that didn't have some other, backhanded, plan or some abuse or something that was not normal or correct. And he was just by the book, by his word. I don't curse, I don't drink. Here's how we run things. You'll be part of a family. You'll learn to be a man. It's like going to the military. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. And I went back and I thought, oh my God, he's never going to take me. Like, I'm the biggest idiot in the world. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to go, but I didn't think he would take me. Honestly,
He did turn people away that he didn't think.
yeah, he would take people that weren't, that were really problematic.
Did you
I wasn't
know that
violent.
before that? Were you prepped that if you won't fall in line with him, he'll pass on you? And
Oh yeah, yeah.
so you knew that.
Yeah, oh yeah, you knew.
Yeah.
Bob's was like a place that you didn't want to go, but you wanted to go if you could. Because it was like, he had a reputation where he genuinely cared for people. And so the boys came out of there, they went back and worked there. Like, they stayed in the family, they stayed in the circle. Because to him it was his extended family. He was going to grow his family, do his service through that home to his boys.
So was it the authenticity, the honesty that got you, or what was it?
Yeah, the straightness just was real about it. And I'd also conned so many people and told so many stories and so many lies and done so many crimes, and I probably didn't know what the truth was. But he saw me as a troubled boy and just, no, shut up. No, dude, you're not gonna con me. Here's how it works. And he just laid it out. Boom, boom, boom. I went, oh my God, this guy knows what he's doing. And he sounded like he was true, and then he was. And that's what changed it for me. He was true to his word. He never broke his word.
And that's something that was interesting, because when I asked you about this, I was like, so how did he change you, right? Because you've gone through all these homes, and I think my question to you was because he was militant, he was tough. He's like, no, it's because he loved me. Like,
it.
yeah.
And he stood by his word. Hey, if you do this, this is the result.
It's a pretty simple formula.
It's
Yeah.
so
Really,
simple.
even boil it down
So
to that.
you didn't do all of that right in the beginning, right?
No, I did all the bad stuff. And I tried to break all the systems and all the rules. I did exactly what I'd been trained to do, which was
Yeah.
to be an idiot. And,
When you got to the ranch, you were
of
doing
course,
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the
'Cause
difference.
that's the one you ended up in jail after that, right?
Yeah, I kept going, and I kept going even with Bob's guidance because I didn't really pay attention. He loved me, he guided me. I listened to 10% of it.
Did he expect that out of you?
I think all the boys did that. I think it was what boys. I think it's what we all did. We're knuckleheads. Like we were literally knuckleheads. And when I speak at prisons and institutions and stuff, I tell them, like, okay, guys, nobody gets here with a great start and love and kindness and community and so nobody gets here because along the way there's 50 people to stop you and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's 50 Bobs to jump in and go, hey, come here, son. But for me there wasn't until Bob, and I never listened to a word he said until I was sitting in prison. And then I was like, well, I better start lifting weights. And, well, I better do all the stuff Bob told me because I really screwed up my life. And I did 3.5 years. I was sentenced to 6 years, and I got 20 felony convictions when I was
20?
17 years old. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
No.
So then after you get out of...
It's a medium.
And Bob stayed
Depends
with
on
you
what
the whole
circles you
time,
run
right?
in.
It's like that's average.
I do always win the felony contest. We're in a contest.
you.
Yeah, I
think I might have you beat.
Yeah. It would be impressive.
But he came to visit you in prison.
Came to
like-
visit me. It didn't stop his guidance. That's the thing. It's where I screwed it all up. He loved me like no other dad could have loved a son. And who had no love and was broken and trauma, like I loved it. And I still fucked it all up. Excuse me. I still
you're
messed
good.
it all up. And I was broken over it. But yeah, he came and visited me, sent me bodybuilding magazines. He kept the knowledge coming. So I just ate it up. Yeah. And
Well, what was it in, like, now you're sitting in prison and you have this, like, I'm gonna do this switch and follow what Bob's telling me. What was it that that he showed up for you, or?
Nope. It was actually he seeing my buddy walking the yard that I used to run the street with. And he was walking the prison yard. So I was in Corcoran, maximum security prison, level 4, killers, murderers. And I look out and there's my bro who we used to run the streets not 2 or 3 years earlier. And it all made sense to me. I went, oh my God, it's a cycle. Because they would always tell me, oh, you're going to do that and you're going to prison. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm freaking smart. And then I saw him there and I went, oh my God.
It's like a
I'm in the
reflection.
cycle.
Yeah.
I'm in the cycle. And I didn't even know I was in the cycle. Just so angry and I was so frustrated and I was so mad at all these things. And then I remember going, oh my God, he's me, I'm him.
So how long
I'm in the cycle.
did you have left in jail when you flipped that?
That happened quick. Yeah, because I saw him
Like early in the
Corcoran.
3.5 years?
Yeah, I think I saw him within the first 4 months. And then I was in maximum security, so you walk the yard, you go back, you sit in a cell. And so I went back and I sat down and I made up my mind. And that's one of the key components of this program we call the WarriorsCode, making up your mind. I made up my mind and I was like, nope.
So
I'm
how
not
do you
going to do
develop-
that again.
Yeah, where does that mental toughness come from?
Well, for me, it came from having nothing and from seeing the truth. I saw the truth. I was my bro.
Yeah.
So it's
I was him.
it's the awareness.
Yeah.
I
There's
looked
so
at
many-
it. I looked at it. I went, oh, that's what these people have said. Here's the data, and there's my bro. And I was like, here we are. And
It's
then
a trifecta.
we've got to come out of this. Yeah. And so that's when the real work began. But the
Did
hardest
that
part
bro
was
come
making
out
up.
of it too?
No, he's
He's in there.
He's the
He's
system.
in the cycle.
Yeah. Most of them never get out of the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They told me, all the counselors, oh, this is a thing, and you're going to be. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm smart. And I always thought I could figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sitting in prison with 23 felonies and going, ooh, what do I do now? Like, I can't get a job. Can't get a realtor's license. I can't do insurance. I can't work for the federal government. I can't be a police officer. I can't do any of these things. I can't own a gun.
That theme of making up your mind,
Yeah.
like that seemed to happen like early on in your life. So you told a story about when you were 11,
Yep.
right?
Made up my mind. I was getting
Making
out of
up my
there.
mind, I'm going to be a criminal.
Yeah.
Making up my mind, I'm not going to be a criminal anymore. And I remember a story you told me about. I met your other adopted dad, tell me
Henry.
about Henry.
Oh, yeah.
And Henry's an attorney, and he's an attorney for like like George Foreman,
yeah.
everyone.
He did the George Foreman grill
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
So this guy, so Frank was. Tell me about
He's
you
my
small,
dad.
Frank. I remember you being introduced to him, showing up, not a prize fighter yet, right? Just like,
Oh, yeah.
like just early on in his career, and sat in front of this guy who again represents George Foreman. Is like, I'm going to be a world champion,
Yep.
and he made up his mind.
Told him my story. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. And he goes, I love it.
You're gonna.
Yeah.
He goes, I love it. Where are we at? I showed him, and he's like, all right. Like, just, yeah, but that's been the blessing of my journey is, and as I look at it now, passing 50, something very childlike about the way my brain thinks and works and about how my energy flows. But it allows all these possibilities because I think my brain got traumatized when I was a child, and I spent this time over here in imagination land. And then I think that enhanced my ability to sort of move through ideas and stuff very quickly and very fluidly. So when I move into different rooms and situations and settings, and I'm sure it's from all the trauma and hypersensitivity and stuff, I can feel what's going on. I can see and hear very quickly the connective tissue and the solutions and the human problems. And to me, it's like exactly the same when I look at a human being. I diagnose their entire structure, the mechanic, the biomechanics, the physicality, and then my brain quickly deduces how long will it take for me to kill this person.
So
That's a
nice to
skill.
be sitting next to
And it
you.
just goes, and then I go, well, we don't need to be doing that. I wonder what's going on with these people. But that's how my brain has been trained. And so I can turn it over here when it really hurts and it's traumatizing, or I can turn it into things like this. And that, for some reason, has been the blessing of my journey. And that's what this WarriorsCode thing is about. Because I think when you remove all those barriers from yourself, from your secret self, from that thing which is, holding you inside, I think once that goes away, it's just endless. Like, it's literally endless. Because I can spend my day every day running around, creating things, changing things, doing things, and like touching people in amazing ways. Or I can sit on the beach all day and just play with my dog.
So, I was going to say, can you tell us more about the WarriorsCode? Because that's how we connected. We connected at the
Yeah.
Honor Foundation Swim, and I met you because again, attractive to
Oh, you were. So that was before I think the good cut came.
No, she had her good
had this
cut.
cut?
Yes,
Okay,
she
well, I
had.
did
so
attract
what-
her. Love her.
yeah.
All right.
So I
It
will
wasn't
tell
you, but it wasn't you.
Scratch
Frank.
my
It was
record.
the dog for sure.
So I will tell you what was interesting was like, here's this guy with this little dog who is shaped like a little lion. So I go up and talk to Frank, and he's like, I do this myself. I groom my little dog myself. And then he tells me about who he is, his history. And I'm like, this is amazing. We are all not one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many dimensions to people. And then now you work in leadership development through this WarriorsCode. So tell us a little bit more about that program.
Yeah, well, it's 30 years of my madness. So I started, to your point, how did you make up your mind? I pulled out a piece of paper and went, these are the things I will become. And I also went, these are the things I am. And we never do that. We never look at the things we really are and decide, is that who we want to be? And am I going to make up my mind? And so,
Wrestle with the truth.
boom, I sat down with the first thing, which is become aware, and I made up my mind, and that's a process. And so, yeah, the WarriorsCode is 30 years of these little modules and mechanics that I've used to develop myself, and now I'm creating it for teams. And so there's stuff from training champion fighters, there's stuff from training psychology, but they're all very, very simple modules to achieve personal success and then work together in a group. And that was my problem. I could never hang out with people because I was so traumatized. And then I could never get my success because I was always distracted by some emotional, overabundance. And once I was able to get those things under control, the rest of it is just mechanics.
Did you get those things under control on your own, or was there support systems that
Always
were introduced?
support. Yeah, always support.
You mentioned Henry.
Yeah.
How did he support you into your next step?
Well, Henry guided me with the business knowledge I needed. I didn't know what I didn't know about what I wanted to accomplish. So what I wanted to accomplish was impossible inside of the contracts I was under and where the sport was. So once Henry opened my mind to that it was achievable, but I'd have to change the sport and a bunch of different things to do it, that's when...
Can you talk to that a little bit? So
Yeah.
you explained it to us last time we got to speak, but just so people have some understanding, because it's really pretty revolutionary in the MMA world, the path that you kind of laid forward, right? It changed the whole sport.
Yeah, change the game.
Can you tell us how?
Sure. Yeah. Well, when I started, the sport was very singular martial arts based. So because the original game was, what would happen if you mixed this martial art with this martial art? So even as the sport evolved, there were still fighters, and they had one strength. I'm a wrestler. I'm going to wrestle you. I'm a puncher. I'm going to punch you. And so everybody had a base of knowledge, and they were all applying it. I came in like a knucklehead, knowing nothing. And so I only had the rules, the goals, and I didn't want to get hurt. And so I was able to examine everything from a different perspective. I had no base. I had no need to do anything but win, and win the most efficiently possible. And so for me, it was a study of science. It wasn't a kicker and puncher. It was a study of how can I apply my human body, again, scientifically with the most amount of, damage with the least amount of effort. So for me, the whole thing was a scientific study, and I just developed everything quicker. Everybody was stuck in this tough world. I'm a tough guy, and tough guys can do this, and wrestlers can do this, and
the 300-pounders fighting the
right,
Brazilian
and I'm big, so
guy.
I don't have to do that. And everybody had a reason why they didn't have to do something, but nobody had a reason why they just weren't studying at all. And I was studying it all. Oh, biomechanics? Yes, let's understand how your body moves efficiently. So if we move together, I understand how it works. And nobody was just exploring all these things. So I literally wrote on paper, very first complete fighting system, which was a complete system for you to fight and protect yourself. And that's what I do. I write systems. So I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, what am I going to talk to these guys about? What am I going to do? And I realized I write systems. I write programs. So I wrote a fighting program.
Mm-hmm.
The first one ever. It's flawless. If you use this program, you will destroy every human being you come across. We'll talk about risk later. I wrote a program for battered women, because I've seen battered women. I've talked to them. I know what they go through. I know what happens, and I know the situations, and I know the encounters, and I know how to defend against it. I wrote a program. Police had problems arresting drug dealers. Came to me, said, "Hey, we got a problem." I said, "Well, what's the problem? What's the rules?" I wrote a program. So for me, I write programs because that's how my brain works. Programs to solve things. That's what the WarriorsCode is. That's what my martial arts program was, Shamrock MMA. Yeah.
How long will it take for you to kill Jamie?
He's tall and he's long.
Less than 3 seconds.
And he works out.
My best
Yeah.
defense would be my white hair
Got-
shivers the light just right to stun him.
You gotta just throwing it like that. You're throwing it like
But we did get to see him size up one of our own team members
That's right.
in Ray.
In a headlock.
You know,
Yeah.
Oh,
how
yeah,
long
yeah,
did
got
it
him.
take you to dissect Ray and figure out that you could put him in a headlock?
It was not long.
It really wasn't.
He has a potent energy, but I wouldn't say that the rest of him is coming up.
It doesn't help that he was volunteering.
Yeah, he just did this.
Will you put me in a headlock?
He's like, can you put me in a headlock, please?
We're going to have to show that picture on the video version.
Yeah.
Back to the relationship with Henry, there was a contract issue there too, right?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, in the beginning,
From a business perspective, weren't
Yeah.
you in a contract that wasn't very advantageous
Totally,
for you?
yeah,
And
yeah.
How did that unfold?
well, in the very beginning, the old owner of the UFC came from music, and so in music, previous to the New World, they had a lot of interests that were controlled by the promoter, and they got a lot of the rights. And so that's why you had this big shift in music, 20 years ago. So that was our old promoter. So his original contracts were own all your IP up and down, top to bottom. If you sign with me, I actually own your name. And that was what WWE does now. So it's this really all-inclusive control contract where they actually own my IP. And the problem with that is if I make someone mad, they can just put me on the shelf for years. And then all of a sudden my IP goes to zero. So when I went to Henry, I said, "Henry, I'm a movie star. I'm going to do this." And he goes, "No, you're not. Look at your contract." I go, "What are you talking about?" And he reads it out. He goes, "According to this, if you keep fighting and performing for them, they will own that." And I go, "Well, what's wrong with that?" And he tells me, "Oh, let me explain to you what's wrong with that." Because he had seen it, George Foreman. He had done it over the years. I didn't know. I was a child.
You're the first guy in the sport to go through that process.
Yeah, and be a
too,
free
right?
agent. Yeah, first one to break that contract, which has now been amended because I broke it with the championships clause, which is a very simple line that said, "Should I ever retire, publicly renounce this championship, the rest of this contract is null and void." But they filled it, and now there's a champions clause, which says if I ever retire, the rest of this contract just waits until
Sits
you
on the
come
shelf.
back, until you come back, and we can monetize you. Yeah, but change the industry, change the game, and then for me, it opened the door for everything.
So you had to become a champion to get out of the contract?
I had to finish my original contract, which was 3 fights. Then I had to not re-sign. which would force everything to start over again at zero.
A negotiation.
Right, a renegotiation. So don't resign, wait the resign term, sit out. And then I went free agent. And then I went around the world and kicked everybody's ass and then rubbed it in the UFC's face and went, hey. And then they came back and said, hey, we'll sign a new contract with you. And I came back with Henry's knowledge and said, great, why don't we add this addendum in there? Because I actually signed a 3 or 6 or a 9 fight contract, which for them would have been my whole career.
Right.
But I fought one, and then I had that one clause in it
That you own the IP.
that I can, if I announce my championship, the rest of this contract is null and void. So after they brought me the belt, I took the belt, took the microphone, and said, thanks, Bob, I'm going to hand this back to you now. I'll be retiring. There's no one left for me to fight. And that severed my contract.
Wow.
And so then I was a free agent. Then I could do whatever I wanted. And that changed the game for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I had power and I had influence and I could do films and I could really monetize my IP and my skills after that.
Were you nervous to do that at all?
Totally, yeah. Because I don't know law. I mean, this is Henry. I love Henry, and I didn't know him that well then. I trusted him. But I trusted that he knew what he was doing. And if you look at his street cred, he's got the badges for it.
Yeah.
So it seemed like it was all going to work out. But I had to win the fight. I had to not get jacked up. And then I had to get up and deliver that thing. So it was a lot of stress and pressure going into
So
that.
who's interviewing you when you do that?
Bruce Buffer?
Really?
Michael? Oh, no, Jeff Blatnick, who's since passed. God bless him. I think it was Jeff Blatnick. Yeah, gold medalist. Yeah.
Wow.
How did you find Henry? Like, did you just call him up or?
No. Oh, my God.
Oh,
We
this
just
it
went
was
through
his
the
cell
Henry
phone.
story.
It was his cell phone,
No,
right?
that was his business partner.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
Henry.
yeah.
That was a story though too.
Henry, oh my God, I met him through my second wife's stepfather, Al Seahorn. And Al Seahorn used to surf with Henry, and their sons used to surf together. So, did I tell you the story about Al? Oh, no. I don't know if it's a radio story. Anyways, Al had money. We're in the Bay Area, and he had one rule. He had a giant house. We were staying there, me and
Yeah,
my
I did hear this
girl.
story, yeah.
He had one rule: don't go in my bed. And so we're like, okay, respect the rule, respect the rule. One night, for whatever reason, we end up in the bed. The next morning, he shows up bright and early in the morning, like 7 a.m., catches me in the bed, like me, buck naked with his daughter, in his own bed. And so he's like,
Oh, his own bed?
his own bed.
Oh.
The bed we're never supposed to go into. If you stay in my house, don't ever go in my bed. So it's like, click. And so he just stands there and he said, I'll talk to you when you come out. I go, oh. So I come out, sit down. He gives me that dad look, and he's like, you're not supposed to be in bed. I go, dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, you know what? I know. And he goes, what are you up to? What are you doing? And what are your intentions with this young lady? And so I said, well, let me tell you my story. And I told him exactly what I told Henry. Here's where I'm going. Here's what's going on. Here's what I believe in. And I'm doing this. I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to become a movie star. And he goes, oh, where you at? I tell him. He goes, okay. There's only one man in the world I know who's done things like that. His name is Henry Holmes.
Huh.
I'll give you his office number. The rest is up to you. And so I cold called his office. Took me like 3 weeks to get an appointment, and I flew out there. And the rest is history. I told him my story, and he goes, I love it. You're not going to do it under those terms.
So the moral of the story is get in the bed you're not supposed to.
Well, no.
Of course, that's what Gabe would take from it.
I think it was my wonderful childlike innocence that brought a dad when I needed a dad.
Okay.
Because here's what I've done since then. Any man has ever said, don't bring the girl into my bed. I've been like, you know what, sir?
Yes,
I understand. Lesson learned. And it was a valuable lesson. I never went to bed, and I got one of the greatest mentors, fathers, and families I could have ever wished for.
Is Al still around?
Yeah. Saw him a couple years ago. He's getting up there.
Yeah.
He's getting up.
What was the story you told us about? So mad about your cell phone not working, and you went to
Is it
WorldCon.
Ann?
Oh my God, time at
somewhere.
Ann. Yeah. No, so I used to train at Stanford wrestling team. I didn't go to Stanford, full disclosure. But my coach went there and was an assistant coach. So I used to go up there and wrestle with the team. Every day I drive by all the Silicon Valley buildings. And one day I got my Palm phone from Palm Pilot.
Palm, that's
brand new Palm.
Brand new
brand new, newest
I had a Palm
technology.
Pilot.
It's all supposed to be popping. And it just stops working. And I go, oh, what's this thing? And so I'm driving by every day to this Palm building. And finally I just go, nope. And I pull into the Palm building.
By the way,
march in there.
straight from wrestling, right?
Straight from wrestling.
Yeah.
I got scratches, and I'm I'm just traumatized.
It says palm on the building.
But yeah, no, it's giant palm logo.
Yeah,
Giant,
yeah.
right?
Just calling your name.
You see it from the freeway.
Right, come on in here and fix
It's like showing up at the Verizon store.
Bro, so I march on in there.
Corporate office.
And it's corporate office, of course. It's just nothing but phones and glass, cool, pretty stuff. And I march in there, and I'm like banging on stuff, and there's nobody there. And this woman comes down, she says, "Can I help you?" I say, "I got this phone, it's broken, I need both things." She goes, we don't do that here." I go, "Listen, lady,
You do now.
I'm a Palm customer. I'm a loyal Palm customer." I go, "I need my phone broke." I think I told her I'm training for a fight. I'm headlining this fight at the arena. I'm Frank Shamrock. I'm not leaving here without my phone fixed. And she just goes, "All right, sir." And she leaves. So I hear her get on the phone. And then not 5 minutes later, this little cute little girl pops out with all these phones. She's like, "Hi, Frank Shamrock." And it was Ann. Ann Quay was my business partner now. This has been 17
That's
years
right.
ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And so she gave me phones and took me. I met the CEO and hung out, and she's been my friend ever since. We're business partners now in this WarriorsCode program.
Well, I know I'll tell you, like I heard the story from both
It's
you
nuts.
and
Yeah,
Ann.
it's crazy.
And from
She told
Ann's
it the
side,
same way?
What's the
she
real
does,
story?
but she tells even more. She's like, "I'm up in my office." They the first thing she was like, "Send him away. Tell him to go. Like,
Some
tell him to
angry guy
go.
here.
Yeah, tell him to go to one of our stores that we can actually fix it." So he, of course, he's like, "I'm not going anywhere," because he made the decision. I'm not going anywhere
Made
until I
up
get
my
his
mind.
phone fixed. So the woman in the front goes back, calls Ann again, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" He's like, he says he's a fighter. His name's Frank Shamrock. And in the meantime, Ann has a poster of Frank in her office. She's a bodybuilder. She loves the UFC. So that's when she comes down with her arm. She's like, "I'm going to find him a phone."
Is that why Palm went out of business?
Because they left.
Good one. Good one. Now, honestly, they had all the technology. They had all. I think it just came down to. I think they tried to compete too much in stuff that had already been done. They had the technology. They had the team. Ann was on a team. Like they had great,
got brains,
smart
yeah.
people, and they just didn't. They went after the shiny new stuff that everybody wanted instead of sticking with that hardcore stuff that they were really good at, that they had really good IP with. And then when HP came over, HP flushed all the IP, millions and millions of dollars. Like, "Yeah, we don't need it. We're HP." And so it just became a zero value. Millions and millions and millions of dollars they flushed because they just didn't know what to do with all this
Yeah.
amazing technology. And so, yeah.
So how did you and Ann decide to start? Well, like kind of like that. A couple of things that came to me as you were talking. This whole career you had as world champion in fighting, you said that was like a means to an end too, right? Because I had asked
Oh,
you
yeah.
about is this your passion? Did you love it? He's like, no.
Nope.
It was- yeah.
No. I llove the training.
Yeah.
I love the community. I love the mind-body connection and the competition. Like, I enjoyed those things. I didn't enjoy the fight. Did not enjoy that. But yeah, I was pretty smart. Fighting is not something you can stay in. It's like knife fighting is not a long-term career. It just isn't. The risk involved is too great to your physical being. And so I always knew, I was like, dude, we can't sustain it. And there just wasn't money. There wasn't enough money to make an exit. It's not like any other industry. We're like, oh, we didn't know from week to week what our viewer audience would be, or if we were back on cable, or all these different factors came down to my paycheck. And that just didn't make sense to me. So I was always trying to get out. The first real time I retired and got out of that contract, I was like, dude, I'm out. Like, I'm good. I'm going to go carry on, move right to Hollywood and do the whole thing. And I just didn't have the skills to do that. I had the look, I had all the, had the credential, but I didn't have the skills. And so as the sport kept growing, I would come back, get some more money. But it was always about build that pile so I can get out. Because you can't sustain or be in a place of risk that long. Eventually, the risk is going to catch up to you.
What was the life lessons that you took out of fighting?
Oh God, everything. I mean, that's the only life I've ever known. And so, I'd say the biggest one is, it is a journey, and this machine will carry you through if you care for it. And I'm 50 now, so all my friends are like, "Oh, I'm dying. What's wrong with me?" And I'm like, "Bro, you don't care for yourself." And they're really going through a physical thing. I fought 44 professional fights, was a professional athlete for 16 years. I have a broken spine, multiple broken fractures all around my body, and I wake up each day and it feels like it never happened. Because each day I care for my body. Each day I balance myself. Each day I look at myself in the mirror naked and I go, oh, why am I crooked? What's going on over there? And I fix it up and I massage it and I do the work so that I feel good every day. Most people don't. By the time they get to my age, they just don't feel good.
Can you work with Gabe? Because he looks at himself in the mirror naked every day too. But he doesn't walk away with the same insight.
Yeah, well, you talked about the naked massaging.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we should walk away now.
No, I always say that because
Bud's like, I'm out.
looks at themselves naked every day. She does.
yeah.
You just learned a lot about that.
She does the twirl.
Yeah.
Did we get a camera on me so she's in here with us?
I have to because I have spondy in my L3. So when I fall asleep at night and all my muscles relax, my spine actually moves out of place. So when I wake up in the morning, the very first thing I do after I pray and I meditate and I visualize my day, I get up and I look at myself in the mirror to see where my spine is sitting. Because then I have to line it back up, put it back in place, loosen the muscles that got strained from its release to go about my day comfortably.
Yeah.
I like that.
So what's the next step in your journey from fighting? You kind of talked about you go out, come back, make some money. What's the next substantial step to getting to where you are now between that and MMA?
It was really starting the league. Like that was the next level. Because I became the fighter, and then I became the spokesman, and then I became the broadcaster, and then we still couldn't get on network television. The public wasn't ready. And so that was my drive, my mission, going to my bosses and my pocketbook, get us on network television because that's where the money it resides to pay me so I can go home. And so that was always the goal. And just moving that forward, like just constant, that's my job.
Well, good job. Money's there now. The viewers are there.
But once I started the league, that opened the door. We were the first league to network television. We got Showtime, we got CBS. We led.
We're talking about UFC?
Showtime. Strikeforce.
Strikeforce.
Strikeforce. Yeah. So one of my martial arts students and friends along the journey said, hey, I want to be a promoter. I was like, I tried to talk him out of it. It's super dangerous. It's super risky. It's super hard. And I cost a lot of money. And he said, how much? And we turned, $250,000 into $40 million in about 5.5 years.
Wow.
And but I use these and his skills.
But that sounds like a pretty good.
That's a pretty good multiple.
It's an okay return. I did
right.
break my arm, leg, and had some other, sustained damage throughout it.
That broken spine.
All worth it. No, I had that when I was 16.
Oh.
16 years old. I learned I had broken my spine. It probably happened when I was 10 or 11. I remember falling off a roof when I was like 10 or 11. My dad told me, don't go on that roof. So, of course, I went on the roof. And I think I fell and broke my back.
I feel like Frank's one of the guys that no matter how much time you spend with him, there's going to be a
story.
somewhere.
No, and I went to the doctor when I was playing basketball in high school in a group home, and my right leg went numb. And I went to the doctor, and he goes, you've broken your spine at some point. We did immediate spinal fusion. You're going to be in a body cast for a year, and you probably never play sports. I was like, bro, I'm going to be the greatest athlete in the world. And so went home to my group home dad, told him, he's like, those quacks. Took me to the chiropractor, and I've been learning about spinal health ever since.
That's awesome. So then what's the transition? Strikeforce, is there anything in between Strikeforce and where you are now?
Not really. After Strikeforce, we did really well, and then I retired. And then dabbled in Hollywood. We did a book on my life. We did film that I sold to Spike TV. And then my daughter was born, and by then I was like, I'm good. And so I spent, 8-9 years just at home. Really loved it. Like, it was just fantastic. It was the greatest human experience I've had.
Hey, Mango.
Mango.
We
Mango's
didn't get Mango before.
Mango's like, I'm the greatest experience you had.
Yeah.
Correction.
Mango's jealous.
She's third.
Why was it? Because of your daughter?
When you said third.
Yeah,
She's
because
like
of
100
my
years
daughter.
back.
And then I didn't realize it. I don't think I had a good experience at that age. I don't think it was pleasant for me. So I didn't have any positive feelings about it.
Did that bring up stuff when throughout that time?
No, but after I retired, I went through a whole emotional awareness. I didn't know I was so messed up. I'd been, training and fighting and surviving and doing all these things for so many years that I didn't know how emotionally damaged I really was. until I had accomplished everything, have everything in the world, and I'm, waking up each morning crying because I'm still hurt, inside, and I had to go find out, that hurt. I didn't even know that it was my mom locking me in the closet until I was 37 years old, because she told me it was my stepdad, Joe. And she blamed it all on him.
How did you discover the truth?
Because when I was 36 years old, a random woman contacted me on Facebook when I was selling my book. And we took it out. It didn't sell first round. So we brought it back. And I did a mock book cover to sell the book. I go, don't worry, Charles, I'll sell the book. I made this pretty book cover of me as a little fat, unhappy boy. And I put it on Facebook. This random woman contacts me. I'm your aunt. I need to talk to you. And so it takes months because I'm on the road traveling months and months and months. And I keep getting, we're going back and forth. And finally I get her on the phone and she's sobbing. I go, she goes, I'm your Aunt Jewel. I'm married to your mom's brother. I go, what? She goes, yeah, I was there when you were a baby. I go, no, wait, what are you talking about? And she goes, yeah. And I have to tell you something. I go, what is it? She goes, I've been sick for 25 years. I go, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. What is it? She goes, I found you hanging upside down in the closet when you were 2 years old from the back of your knees. And I didn't do anything. I go, what are you saying? What do you mean? She goes, I was moving to Colorado, your mom's brother, and I went to say goodbye, and it was crying in the closet, so I opened it, and you were hanging in the closet. And I go, what? I go, what'd you do? She goes, I left you there. Oh. And I went, oh, shit. How's that working for you?
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah. I'm doing good. My life is, I'm doing well. And she's like, I've been sick for 25 years. I was like, oh, maybe we should have done something. But yeah, that's when I found out. So I had this big emotional awakening when I was like 35, 36, 37. I got everything I want in my life. And I realized, I'm so damaged. I have so much pain. And
was your mom
still
still
kept
around?
coming. Oh, yeah. And I called her on it.
Yeah,
she said, nope. I said, what? Mom, I said, Mom. I gave her a second. I said, Mom, gave her a second. I said, sure. She said, nope, that was Joe. I said, Mom, you know Aunt Jewel? And she immediately went, oh.
Uh-oh.
I go, bro. And I told her the story. She goes, well, and she got real mad and upset. She said, that's what happened to me. And I go, don't make it right, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm not locking my kid in the closet. That ain't right.
How does your relationship unfold from that point forward, being told something like that?
It's the same. It's the same.
Because it was never
It was
quality.
never. And she's my mom. I love her. I'll go save her. But, that's it's my mom.
So
Tough one.
how amazing was that you were at a point in your career when you had a kid that you needed now to
Honestly.
spend 9 years at home with?
Greatest thing. I would literally wake up, look at my bank account.
Feel good.
It was early in the
That's
code.
your meditation.
There was like a
was to
little bit
look
of
at your
prayer.
bank
There was a
account.
tiny bit of meditation. Yeah, there was just a little bit of stuff. Because I'd be like, money, I'm good. And then I'd be like, what are we going to do today with my little girl? And I would just go on the community calendar, like, what's happening today? Go to whatever fair, whatever, any event that matter, we would go. And it was just a great, because I don't remember that. I don't remember seeing that, but I remember when I had the child, I remember looking at other kids and going, wow, I wonder what their thing was like. You know what I mean? Because I don't remember any of it. So I looked at my girl and I was like, man, let's give her the.
So
let's
you're
give her
being
the
a
greatest.
kid with
I was like,
her all
I got to have
over
the kid
again.
experience. Yeah. I did everything.
Were you worried about screwing it up?
Oh yeah, totally. I still am. Because I'm honest about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little different, and so I tell my daughter, like, listen, I'm different. Things happen to me, and I don't, I react differently. I think differently. My emotions work differently, and I have to think about things a little bit longer sometimes. Look at things differently sometimes to get a better understanding of it. Because when my emotions get in the way, I can't. Man, I just want to kill everybody. That's not helpful.
Don't piss 'em off.
That's not helpful. It's not helping anybody.
Don't ask
I've got a lot of fear right now.
Yeah. So how many podcasts have you had that people talk about killing each other?
It's so
We've
funny.
got a couple military
You
guys
guys-
that went into interesting places, but I don't think there was a threat of death at the table because they were from afar. Well, Scott Husing wasn't, but yeah.
There's something very intimate about using your hands. And I've talked to a lot of soldiers, and when you're interacting with another human being, hands are really powerful. You know what I mean? Whether we're touching, we're holding, we're applying, there's a lot that happens.
So what in the work you're doing now with Ann, what kind of organizations do you like coming into the most to serve?
For me, honestly, I like the smaller kind of community, mid-sized based companies. We've been doing the Googles and it's too much work, to be honest with you. I mean, man, I just had this talk.
Hard to see the impact quickly.
They're so programmed, and even if they leave up, they just go back in this culture of, it's the same culture of I'm a tough guy, punch me in the chin, and they all get brain damage. Like they're doing this thing that makes no sense, and I don't want to hang out with make no sense stuff.
Right.
So we did a few, but I think we're gonna, focus more mid-size, and then what I realize in this journey is if you don't want my shit, I don't want to hang out at all. Like, don't even call me, please. So for me, Ann's more passionate about helping that group of people. I've never worked in an office, so I don't have that social connection. Yeah. She's more passionate there. I think I can make bigger change at the very top. And I think if I can change the minds of some of these leaders, that's where I think my biggest asset will be at this point.
What kind of change is most impactful that you've experienced?
Oh man, wow! I'd say just people having awareness of their actions and their power, good and bad. Like I think a lot of people in that space get into these, they're just cogs. They show up, they say what they're supposed to say, they do what they're supposed to do, and then there's no there's no value to them, so they don't care. No one cares.
So is it really like cultural impact?
Yeah, they're just they're just turning this wheel, and no one literally gives a shit. Because why? Because the top line doesn't care. Because they're
So how are you coaching them to engage and have that impact?
Well, they're on my journey. First one is awareness. So we go in and see. We go look at this. Let's go look at it. What? Yeah, let's go look at it.
You call them out.
Yeah, well, you don't have to, because the facts are the facts. And for me to go in and just talk to 5 people, I can go, oh, okay, I bet you I can tell you what's going on here, because it's always the same. Every culture is the same. Almost every group is the same. We're human beings. We do the same shit over and over and over again. We just do it at different flavors. And so, if I can wake the minds up like my mind was woken up, I think we can shortcut a lot of this middle management. And, hey, what do you think about this? I don't care what you think about it. You don't want me there? Literally, I don't want to be there. I want to go to the beach and hang out. And so I need those people that really are interested in helping the whole column with a change of mind.
So the name Warrior, it's WarriorsCode?
Yeah, WarriorsCode, yeah.
What does it symbolize, and what does the Warriors Code symbolize?
Well, for me, it symbolizes a philosophy and a way of living. And that encompasses mind, body, spirit, business. Like, it doesn't change. I'm not a good guy at home and a bad guy in business. or the opposite. It doesn't work like that. Bad people do bad things, but it's just energy. And so when you get into that space of thinking, we program this day. This is our day. This is our program. We're doing it.
Yeah.
And there'll be a result from this. And anyone can do that with anything. I could go climb a mountain every day, and that could be my program if I wanted to climb mountains. But we wake up and we think, oh, I'm at the mercy of this, and I got to go do this thing. You ain't got to do a damn thing. But wake up.
How does Mango feel about mountains?
Loves it. She's my best hiking dog ever.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Best of all my dogs. I've got like 5 dogs.
She doesn't have to carry very much weight around.
No, and if you get to a really sketchy point, you can just throw her up to the next spot. So just pop up there and wait for it. It's the most gangster thing you've ever seen. Yeah, it's my big dogs. I'd have to,
You drag up
huge.
there.
I'd drag them up there. It was all dangerous.
Well, there's a lot of leadership, executive coaching out there. I just have to imagine, based on your personality, there's a contrast between what you do when you go in versus what other people do.
Yes.
What's the experience like? Or how do you contrast it to what other people might do?
That's a good question, actually. I think the results speak for themselves, and they happen very quickly. So I think people are initially tight with the truth. And so my thing is, I speak the truth. And I have a way of speaking and weaving stories that take some of the heat off the truth. But I come in swinging, and we talk about the truth, and we get shit done, or I go. I just leave. I'm like, all right,
what,
I'm good.
what does it look like? So what is?
Sounds Bob
Like,
Shamrock.
I'm good.
Like,
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not. Yeah, because to me, it's my belief in martial arts was it was the most important thing. Like I will sell all you guys on martial arts right now.
Yeah.
Because of mind, body, develop what it does for you as a human being, and then what it does for your community, and how you can translate that into so many different areas has such value. Truthfully, such value that I would recommend anybody do it.
yeah.
And you?
And then cage fighting, absolutely not. Don't ever do it. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. What are you thinking?
Martial arts,
It's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
And how do you? Because I remember you incorporate some sort of martial arts training into the Warriors Code.
We use bare knuckle boxing as our medium for the Warriors Code. And so that's how we bridge that gap very quickly. 'Cause
Wait, what?
We use bare knuckle boxing.
You have the executives you work with fight?
We use bare knuckle boxing.
That's a yes, I think.
Bare knuckle boxing.
Okay, so
is our
if
medium.
Gabe and I engage, we get to bare knuckle fight each other? Is
You
that how
get
it
to
works?
do bare knuckle boxing, but inside of the elements of bare knuckle boxing are all the mechanics necessary to throw a proper punch, protect yourself, have good communication skills, and interact with another human being in a very high risk but safe situation. That takes away all that tightness, fear, and uncertainty, and it immediately moves into the mindset of change. Then I come in and I sock their cerebellum with some amazing chi, and it's done. Then their mind is ready to change, and now we can start working on what change looks like, how we make that movement, how I get that feeling.
That's a
in
good
my
question.
body. Yeah.
I like
What,
that.
how do high risk and safety go together?
Because when you are participating in things of risk, you are more tuned. You're just it's stress.
Yeah.
Your body goes, oh, because if you're not, you're probably gonna die soon, and you probably won't make it.
It's like the
But
caveman fight or
The
flight.
natural thing is got a problem? Well, let's raise it up and deal with it. And so that is a very valuable state when it's harnessed correctly. That's an amazing state to have of awareness, action, and ability. But you can't sustain it, and it has to be achieved in good ways. So it's achievable. And when you do things that connect the mind, the body, and the spirit, and you're working on larger ideas, all this fear and stuff falls away, and you just get connected with what the thing is. What's the thing? Oh, we're trying to change something here.
So do you help them identify what they need to change?
Yeah, we do it in advance. Yeah.
Okay.
We know what we want. I mean, they know what we want, or they don't call me.
Right.
I mean, we're there for a specific reason, and sometimes we're called to figure out what is going on, so we can then, figure out the problem. But usually that happens in one day. Give me 24 hours with most people, and I can figure out what's going on.
I feel like it's more like 24 seconds.
Especially with the bare knuckles.
I mean, and especially with Ray, it was like half a second. It was like really quick.
My favorite was I said that line when I was teaching the 125th Army battalion, recruiting battalion. So I'm Fort Hood. I'm teaching all this. I mean, it's colonels, like all these people. I said, gentlemen, we share a similar mindset. I said, and I'm trying to change my mind a little bit, because when I look at a human being and I say the line, and they all just looked at me like, you motherfucker, like, why would you say that? Like, what's going on? Like, they completely went the other way, because they were like, no, we're the baddest people on the road.
Right.
And so it was just
It's a
weird.
challenge.
It was just weird energy where I was like, okay, no, it's like a funny line that kind of paints a picture. And they were like,
Like, I may not be able to take all of you on.
They all tighten up, and I was like, oh, okay, wrong room.
Know your audience. Know your audience.
You're like, one-on-one, I can do this. But
Yes.
against 100 guys, maybe not.
You're like, okay, one at a time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Will we go to rapid fire? What was your first job?
My first job was mowing lawns when I was 8 years old, because I told Joe I wanted some money. And he said, oh, I'll teach you about business. He gave me his mower, his gas, his oil. And he told me to go to each neighbor's house, knock on the door, and mow their lawn. So I did.
That was my first job, too.
Yeah. And then he
Well, a
came
lot of
back.
people our age, first job
Yeah.
is that.
Really
you
And
know?
I came back. Did you get this lesson? Came back with a big pile of cash. He sat me down at the table and said, how do we do? And I said, oh, look at my cash. And he goes, great, let me teach you about business.
Where's the gas
He
money?
goes, whose mower is it? Take $1. Whose gas was it? I'll take $1. Whose oil was it? I'll take $1. So I actually made $2 for every lawn instead of $5, because he took 3 of my dollars, and he said, this is your first lesson in business. Own your
that's
stuff,
awesome.
be in control, or you pay the one who wants. And I was like, oh.
No.
Yeah.
My
Huge
first
lesson.
My first lesson was my grandma went and checked the quality of the yard and found one blade of grass not right and made me give the money back. Oh. So then I started double cutting yards. I cut them one way and then I cut them back this way. And it actually helped me get a lot of business because I was the only one doing it.
Yeah, I know.
And
Cool.
everybody in the neighborhood was like, hey, we
There's
want
Jamie's
that.
work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, all right,
There
cool.
you go.
Gotta look creative about it.
Differentiator, quality, yeah.
All right, so what is your favorite pizza
Pepperoni, mushroom, and olive.
establishment?
Oh, pizza establishment?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't care.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it was a loaded question.
It was
Oh, it was?
for myself.
Oh,
Mia's writing scripts for
Excellent.
I thought
herself.
for sure it was
Well
gonna
played.
be like pizza port.
well played.
You know, you're in
No, but
Carlsbad.
I do remember writing an essay probably when I was in third grade, and because I got in so much trouble in one year, I ended up doing and winning a school award for doing 100 book reports in 1 year, 1 summer, 1 quarter, something insane. Because I was probably locked in my room most of the time. Oh shit! I forgot I was telling you the story. The hell was it?
Pizza?
Pizza. I write this essay. I remember it to this day because it was like 6 or 7 pages. But basically, it was like, I love pizza. I'll eat pizza any day. I like pizza when I'm here. I like pizza when I'm here. I like pizza when I'm 5 pages.
That was the essay.
I like pizza over here.
Sounded like Sam I am.
I like, I like pizza when I'm
It's a whole
camping.
book.
And
Yeah.
when we go swimming, I like to eat pizza. Like literally, I had 5 pages of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a pizza guy.
Pizza guy.
All right, so the next one is you get an opportunity to live in someone else's shoes for a day, and it can't be Vaughn. Who would that
Although
be?
you look at these
Live
And
in
shoes.
why?
someone's shoes.
Just
Whoa.
experience
Take a
their
stroll.
experience their life for the day.
Interesting. Oh, I would do my daughter's life.
That's a good one.
Why?
I would do my daughter's life because I would love to see what she's going through, and then how all the lessons and stuff we've taught her are really being applied, like just from an outside perspective,
Like that.
and then maybe see how. Because I'm getting, she's a teenager now. We're getting further away, and I'm like, and she's like, Dad, get away from me. And so I'm losing that, daddy little girl, thing that I saw develop. And so I'd love to be able to just see, how that is happening and impacting around me.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm
That's a good
missing it
answer.
now,
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I can just make this weird. What, if you were a farm animal, what farm animal would you be and why?
Farm animal. Oh wow,
If
interesting.
you're in a fun workshop and you had a pile of Legos, what would the animal be that you create?
Yes.
I think I would be a horse.
A horse.
Yeah, I'd
okay.
be a horse.
And why?
I don't know. It just seems so purposeful. Like, they have no. What do horses do? They eat and they run. That's what they do. But I think there's a peace in that, and there's a, they're simple in that. That's what they do. They eat and run.
And they're good-looking animals.
And they're strong. They're strong
builds and they're
animals.
strong
Yeah.
and,
I don't think you would be the pig.
No, I don't want to be a tiny like
The
chicken,
chicken.
or something. Like a majestic, and I'd have one of those big mane things and the Clyde. Like I'd have some pop.
Yeah.
And someone to
swag.
groom you like you
We
groom
don't
me.
need for it. We don't need for it, but I still look like that.
Hey, did you like my Work Smart Advantage reference?
I
Should I
did.
drop
Thank
in
you.
there?
Thank you so
Yeah?
much. Yes.
Um,
Jamie's
all
my
right.
new rep.
Yeah, I'm promoting Vaughn's work. If you were gonna have a regular impulse buy at Costco or the grocery store, what's that impulse buy?
Avocados.
Avocados.
Avocado?
That's like the
Oh,
last.
there was
thing
no
I would
hesitation
think was
there.
an
There was
impulse.
not
Yeah,
even a
avocado,
hesitation.
chocolate.
I
ice
was just
cream,
at the store
all that.
yesterday going, I'm going to need these avocados. And I'm dating this girl. She goes, what do you need avocados for? I go, my house. Just for some reason, I always need avocados.
That's-
Vaughn,
they're
you
good to
get
have
the, you
around.
get the next one.
The next one, okay. Okay, I have a creative one, another weird one. If you were a crayon color, what color would you be and why? Cyan. What?
Yeah.
What
Is
is
that, is
cyan?
that red, right?
C-Y-A-N.
It's a red.
Cyan. Yeah.
It's red.
I think it's a reddish. Is it
Yeah.
Team of knowledgeable.
Or blue?
people? I guess head shakers.
There's no
cyan.
idea.
I think it's a reddish color.
Why red?
Okay.
Color of blood.
Guys are so tired. It's blue?
It's a blue.
All right.
Is that blue?
well.
Okay.
Oh, so you're more
We're
peaceful.
really committed to this color.
I was super close.
You're more peaceful than you're letting
Okay,
on.
well, I'll tell you the truth because I'm a truth speaker. I'm more like the word. I like the.
Scion? Yeah.
It is a good word.
I'm more like the
Frank
word
is
than-
very scion.
than the actual color, because when I saw the word, I was like, oh man, that's perfect. You know?
I was
like
thinking
that
about
color.
the car.
It's a
until
feeling
you-
in it.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
a
the scion.
there's a lot happening in that word.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how I was looking at it.
Well,
That's your horse name, by the way.
yeah.
If
Speaking
you were a
of
horse, you'd be named Scion.
I can see that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I like that.
so speaking of feelings, is there like is there a certain song that just makes you happy?
Happy. You know, for me, it's just whatever the new moment of emotional impact is, and that music. So I don't have like a reoccurring one, but like the latest one that really got me was "Shallow" by Lady Gaga. Like for some reason, that song makes me cry every time. Also, the national anthem, cry every time.
That's a tough
Which
one.
is super tough when you're the guy on the podium and you're trying to look tough. You're like, I did it, Mom. Like, it's super tough. Even if I'm in the audience, I'm still crying. So, yeah, those.
Maybe that's the answer to the next question, because it's, you know, what's your coping mechanism or your go-to stress relief?
Meditation and physical activity, and then social connectivity.
That's the question on here, but I wanted to ask what his porn name would be, because I feel like it could be sound as well.
Could be Scion.
like-
Mango Scion,
Come here.
Scion Mango.
Or avocado.
I did have a name. I did have a name.
Oh, back in the day. Well, is
Yeah.
this a story? This is like something in the
No,
past?
No, it was
Podcast is extending.
It was
now to-
honorary. It was given to my third wife.
Okay.
Yeah. And she said, listen, if this doesn't work out and you become a porn star, I want to leave you with this. Your name will be Frank Slamcock. And I was like, you are a disturbed woman. How did we get into this marriage? Like, what on earth? Yeah.
All right, that's gonna be featured.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? That's going to be the name of the podcast now.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I've only told a few other people that, by the way, because I was like, what is wrong with you, woman?
Well, this is gonna be broadcast to thousands of people now, so
Yes.
You might be getting some.
She'll admit to it. No,
All
she'll-
offers.
Yeah.
She also came with the mixing of the names. And so my name is Frank. Her name is Amy. For a long time, we would just be Framey.
Framing.
I like
Well,
it.
we're
I like
gaming.
Framey.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Gabe
you
and
are.
Jay.
My son married Onda, and now they're Fronda. So
I
like,
It
yeah.
goes together well.
What are we four together?
So we took that.
Yeah.
There's value in that.
Yeah.
How much?
So you got a lot from your first wife.
We need a merge name for the podcast. We'll have to work on it.
Isn't that
Yes,
that's beautiful?
absolutely.
It's so good. It's so good.
So part of our discover the difference is when you look back and reflect on your life, and you've had these really crazy experiences. When you look at your younger self, what kind of advice, given what you know now, would you give to your younger self, whether it's the 11-year-old or the 15-year-old or the 22-year-old?
I would say the greatest advice is listen to advice and listen to mentors, and because I really think if I had listened, I would have, not had as much issues and achieved even more. And it just took me a long time to get out of my own way and my own emotional problems to sort of see things for what they are. Someone gives you advice, it's priceless,
Yeah.
and that they took the time to do that they took the time to care like that. I was missing because I was so angry, and people miss it in business. Go
It's funny how
show up
rage-
angry. Yeah, show up
Actually,
angry.
yeah.
You might miss that little nugget of intention or emotion or key or importance to them. That was the key to the whole thing, and I missed it all because I couldn't control myself. But yeah, I take advice now and I take direction.
Well, it was interesting on all those places where you saw, when you reflect back, of those people that did care,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that helped you to get to where you are. So
Yeah, that was the
Definitely.
biggest thing when I woke up, when I call it an awakening, when I had my awakening in prison, is I saw all those people who went, hey, and gave me good, sound advice. And I just went, well, my life's so bad, or whatever I did. And God bless all those people.
So leaning into the different side of it, what's the secret sauce that made Frank Shamrock special?
Oh, I don't think I'm special. I think I'm.
Maybe that's your secret sauce.
Yeah, I think we're all the same. What I've found from doing this journey, every human is the same. We think we act differently, we do stuff, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. We have the same fears, same things, same problem. It's all the same stuff. So we repeat stuff in different cultures. That is the biggest thing that I've learned from this journey. I thought I was weird, different, and unique. And I thought, oh man, I'm all messed up. Turns out we're all messed up, and we're all weird, different, and unique. We're human beings, and everything we do is an energy, and it affects everything else around us, and we get to decide what that energy is. And that's why we're all so amazing and different.
Yep.
Yeah, a choice.
Yeah, use your choice. And then go out and, be an a-hole tomorrow, or I go out and be kind to people, and that's my choice. And the impact of that will be X, Y, and Z. And it could change the world. It could lead to a mass shooting. Like, who knows? But I believe that spreading good energy and doing the right thing has tremendous value. And my proof of that is, bro, look at me.
Your life,
Like,
yeah.
I've been blessed
The
more
blueprint.
than any human being deserves to be blessed. And I'm was a terrible human being.
No,
So,
you did maybe you did terrible things, but I doubt you were ever.
No, I was a pretty bad guys.
Well,
I was a pretty-
we'll have to unpack that sometime. On
That's a pretty
Yeah.
bad
the
person.
last part of what you say that
Yeah.
about deserving.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
So people looking to get into some bare knuckle fighting and come out a better person. How should they look to connect with you?
easiest way to get a hold of me is frankshamrock.com. I'm usually on social media everywhere at Frank Shamrock, but I got hacked on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, did you?
So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'm. By the way, I don't market. I don't talk about this. Can't sign up anywhere. This is like usually it's been my friends and family. And a few companies have snuck in because they called me direct, and the Google's like, "We need you." All right. This is super important to me because I see the impact of it, and so I wanted to go to people who can make real change. And if you're in a position to make change, I'd love to talk to you because to me, we got to make some changes here for our own society because, some people got it good, some people got it don't, but everybody is living the same experience. We're doing the same thing. My hope is that we can at least have a good, positive, healthy experience together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Awesome.
And if not,
Thanks.
let's all kick the shit out of each other. Bare knuckle
that's
boxing.
right. That's where it all starts.
That's right. Or ends.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Frank. Really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. It's,
Yeah.
Every time we sit down with you, it's something new, but it's always a pleasure.
And thanks, Vaughn, for making this all happen.
Absolutely.
Guest host.
Yes,
Guest host
anytime.
thing.